So just Sulai, is Josephine coming or is she?
She has an AP meeting, so
Okay.
Oh.
Just wanted to make sure. So we got our crew here. I think we're ready to roll. All right. Let me share my screen. Get us started. I put the PowerPoint on Google Classroom for you guys right in the stream, because at the end of today, I'm hoping you guys can share maybe a learning target that you created. And let me pull up the agenda. And just notice that they are slides 5 to 17. Okay, I did not have time to clip that. So we are going to start right here. Actually, let's look at the agenda first. Could I have a volunteer to read the agenda?
Sure. Agenda 1, icebreaker. 2, mental models. 3, research analysis. 4, closing activity. Create an inquiry-based learning target and share with the team.
Okay. Sounds like fun. You guys, I really think, I'm not being sarcastic, I think you're going to enjoy this. And if in any way you feel like this is something you already do and I'm being condescending, of course, let me apologize for that, because as we all know, we don't do enough intervisitations and we don't get a chance to collaborate enough. So I'm really just going to try to take you guys to from the early critical moves of strategic inquiry and just see where it goes from there, really. So this is our icebreaker. I kind of used this morning with my advisory, but in a reverse fashion. So how about Ms. Hutt? Could you read that for us?
Imagine yourself 20 to 30 years from now. You are retired, you're walking down the street, and boom, one of your old students, try to imagine that one that struggled, recognizes you and says, "Oh my God, Mr. or Mrs., how are you? How have you been?" You in turn ask, "Oh my God, what are you doing these days? How's life?" What do you hope are some things they will tell you about? What would you hope that will say that will influence the time you had with them? That is not what it says. What would you hope that will say about the influence you had over them?
As they will say. Damn, you guys know them. You guys know them good for a couple of typos. Jill noticed right away.
Oh, it's not my fault. Okay.
No, that they will say about the influence you had over them. I know
I'm
it
so
might
glad
be
it's not just me.
a little deep. No, we were not a perfect match, Meg, in that sense. That the kids were like, "How many misspellings are we gonna have today?" Right. So try to think about it. I'll go first, just so you guys have time to kind of meditate on this. If I'm retired and I'm just kind of walking down the street and I see a student, I'm not going to name any names because that's like a norm I think we should try to keep to, is let's not put names out there, just to keep it, as straightforward as possible. But if I see a student that really struggled under me, but, I saw the potential, and I just want them to tell me, Mr. Donovan, one, I'm happy. I love life. But if I'm being completely honest, I want to know, what are you doing? What's your career? Are you making good money? Do you have a family? Stuff like that. And I would hope that they would just say, after maybe a conversation, they would say something like, all that writing you made me do, it paid off. I'm a lawyer. I love my job. I help people. I'm like a good kind of lawyer where I get to like help, maybe immigrants. Or I get to help people that, don't have the resources. And that's what I would hope to hear from really any student. But, if it was from a struggling student, that would just absolutely make my entire life really, in a way. So let's turn it around to you guys. I'm going to put everyone in gallery view. Does everyone kind of have a firm grasp of the icebreaker? I'd like to hear from everybody if that's possible. I'll put it in the chat as well. Who would like to go first?
So I actually had this happen. This is my 13th year teaching. So after about 10 years, I saw one of my kids, and he's in his mid-20s now. And he saw me on the street and he goes, Miss B. And I'm like, I haven't been Miss B in a while. I'm like, and he's like, oh, he's like, you know, I'm married. I've got like my second kid's on the way, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you know, I'm doing so well. And this is a kid who like, you know, was struggling for everything. Like just to keep his head above water, he struggled. And the fact that, you know, he got married, has two kids, you know, is holding down a full-time job. Ms. Myers, I'm a special ed teacher and I've worked with special ed kids my entire career. And, you know, this is he struggled. This is a low-level special ed student who really struggled on just daily to day stuff. And the fact that he got married, was having his second kid, I was like, and he's happy. I was like, you know what? I did my job. I'm like, you succeeded in life and you persevered and you didn't let anyone tell you like you couldn't do it, which is things we told you every day. Like that made me feel old, but made me feel good too.
Thank you, Meg. That is great. Stace, you want me to read yours, or you want to talk a little bit more about what you mentioned? Yeah, baby sleeping. All right. So Stacy said, you know, she would just want that student to say, I get it now. You know, I figured it out. All the times you gave us maybe a speech here and there about life and what was coming. They, you know, they understood, and they, you know, they're on their right path, if you will. Thank you, Stace. Anybody else want to share out on this?
I mean, with economics, I've definitely had some kids that I had back in 2020 and 2019. They graduated and they had emailed me talking about, oh, miss, the budget sheet you taught me worked and I'm considering moving out. And I definitely did the pros and cons like you told me to, and cost benefit analysis and all of that. So it is really nice to turn around and hear, you know, wow, you actually did listen and pay attention. But I do agree with Ms. Reed. They also do say, you know, I should have listened to you more and taken all the advice you've given me back then. I definitely should have applied it better. So.
Thanks, Sulai.
Mhm.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go. I mean, just to, you know, echo what other people have said, I would hope that they're happy and successful and that they realize that, you know, the things that we asked them to do were for their own good and that they learned how to, you know, master the skills that we taught them and that it helped them in life. And maybe that we inspired them, you know, as a history teacher to love history. That would be cool. Maybe they do something in the history field. You never know. But I mean, yeah, just the same things that everybody else said.
Absolutely. Like skills matter. Like we think, you know, it's not sinking in, and, you know, maybe they'll never really firmly grasp it. But even if they don't say it verbally, you know, they're taking so much with us, and the more effort we make, it's just, you know, it's gonna pay it forward. How about Applewhite or Izzo? Would you guys like to share anything?
I wrote it in the chat. This is Applewhite. I just wrote that, you know, thank you for those routines in class as it conditioned me for the real world. I have a job that involves meeting deadlines and staying in task and, you know, collaborating with, you know, my coworkers, you know, things like that. That's what I would want to hear, you know, regardless if they decided to go to college and even like those routines could work in college as well. So I'm just hoping to hear something of that because I'm pretty structured in the classroom. So I'm hoping that they can apply those skills that I've, you know, the norming that we've done in the beginning and, you know, consistently that they carry it over while they're in college or while they're working at a, you know, full-time job.
Yeah, I've observed you, Anisha, so I know you're like the real talk queen. You just like, you always dropping it in there regularly, you know, to just remind them. So thank you. How about Miss Izzo? Could you cap it off with a?
I'm just thinking about like the In Beauty Club with Miss Applewhite. If the kids take away like something about self-care or like a coping skill or something that's not academic based and they actually apply it to their life, like that they took that from high school, I think that would make me like so happy. So
Because it's not all about academics, right, Gina?
yeah, like that part is so essential.
I know I've learned that so much during the remote learning experience. Meg snaps. Thank you, Meg. Some snaps for everybody. I really appreciate you just kind of like getting in that frame of mind. So we're going to, this is like our reintroduction back to inquiry. And I've learned a lot of lessons. And the biggest lesson was I was kind of prescribing a lot, you know, last October into January for you guys. And I realized that's, you know, that's not how I learn. You know, I learn by getting my, you know, my, what's the expression, pulling my sleeves up and get my hands dirty and just doing it myself. So I've kind of reworked my approach, and I hope, and you guys please let me know if this is better. So this is what we're going to talk about. I shared the research. I know some of you guys did your homework, Miss Novak and Ms. Hutt, thank you. And I'm going to read everybody's responses to the research that was shared. Who else?
I did mine and I turned it in. I may have done it this morning, but I did it.
Miss Reed, thank you. With the baby sleeping, just like, I'm sure the baby was awake for a while too. So the kind of the overarching theme was clear targets. And for us, and just really today and next week, what that means is like, what are the early critical moves for strategic inquiry? So as you guys can see, just a quick model right off the bat. What are some of the changes I've made in my approach instructionally and in terms of creating, you guys have heard I've said granular assessment probably a few dozen times last trimester. So we're going to get further into that. And this is our EQ. Like, what's the big idea here? Sulai, could you read that for us?
How can we adjust our thinking, mental models, and practices to more consistently support our struggling readers and writers in social studies, engage in inquiry more deeply?
Thank you. And this is an example of a learning target I did recently. Instead of the more traditional, I started moving towards stuff like this. I will be able to, that's the student saying it, I will be able to analyze historical information, identify an enduring issue, and create a complex writing response based on an enduring issue, supported by evidence and analysis. Some of you guys might be thinking, is that too complicated? What are your first impressions? If you have never seen a learning target, so to speak, before, does anyone have a first impression of that learning target?
I think it's I think there's a lot of steps with that. I also believe that there's different skills in that learning target, various skills to analyze, to identify, to create. So it seems a little complex.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You're right. It's not a great learning target. I did this about a month ago, and I've already made changes because it's just a constant, you know, we call it a continuous improvement process. So thank you, Anisha, for being honest. That's what I was hoping you were actually going to say. So a couple working definitions, because we may have forgotten what exactly is inquiry, strategic inquiry. First one is when we throw around this term inquiry-based, basically that means this is just the act of preparing or using lessons and assessments that target a high leverage subskill. Anisha mentioned within that target, there were a lot of steps, which means there are probably a lot of subskills that need to be kind of unpacked and you know, as you spiral. So again, another example is, Ms. Hutt, can you read that example for us?
Are you sure you want me to read? I'm just kidding. All right. Students will be able to create a topic sentence containing a claim.
Anisha, how do you feel about that one?
I feel that's simple.
Simpler, right? I'm learning. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that we can all kind of go on this journey together step by step. The second thing, like we said, we're going to really be saying a lot is, what is a learning target? Ms. Izzo, could you read that for us?
A very specific goal for students to achieve that can be easily tracked so teachers can respond to data transfer and more effectively.
Good. So teachers can respond to data faster and more effectively. Let me just throw this out there. How important is time for you guys when you are looking at, say, struggling student work? How does it factor in?
Can you repeat